Hi, Mama. This was something that we haven't told y'all about. And
we haven't even discussed this part of the property or the homestead or the farm.
No.
Because
I think we were insecure. I think we knew
that we hadn't done it right.
Correct.
Yeah.
We'll tell you a little bit in a moment, but our breeder that we got Bill from said, hey,
this might not be a good idea. Today we want to talk to you about the mistake we made with our Idaho pasture pigs. It's a good day. It's still a really, really good day. Bo came in at like...
You're whispering.
Because they're sleepy babies. You have to be quiet. So Bo came in at like 8 o'clock this morning and said, oh, there's piglets. So 2 weeks ago, I came back from being out of town and we walked by the pigs and I said, babe, she looks pregnant. And then we start looking up everything we can. But the tricky thing about these Idaho pastured pigs is like, we're kind of forerunning this thing. So there is not a lot online about them specifically. I started looking up coonies to figure out what we could find out about showing signs of pregnancy. And of course, the first thing is like, hey, no sweat. Once you put your boar and your gilt together, they are gonna have a pregnancy that results in piglets in the next 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. We're like, that's great, except we don't know when they bred.
We'll get the big mistake out of the way. We put them to, so Missy, which I don't know if you can see her, Missy, our sow now.
She's a
sow now.
Sow now.
She
was too young.
We put them together before she was even breedable. What is that word? Like,
well, before she was mature enough. So basically we had a space for Bill and he was doing great in it. We had our meat pigs nearby and then we took them off to process and it was just Bill here. So we put Missy and Bill together.
Well, let me add to this.
Yeah.
Bill was getting super unhealthy.
Oh yeah.
In a confined space.
Mm-hmm.
So what we had going on was we needed either to keep them totally separate, and Missy is a little bit more active, way more active than Bill. So they both needed some more space, and we already had this electric paddock, and we already trained them with electric wire, so we needed something. And Bill was like limping, and he was overweight. It was just bad. Like, he was not a healthy pig. And it ended up being the right choice for him to give him more space because he leaned up a little bit, and then these limps that he had.
His muscles were stronger. Yeah. He had no limps left.
He was
he just leaned out on his face.
He was so fat, like he couldn't open his eyes.
It wasn't that.
It was.
We're exaggerating a little bit, but Bill had gotten very comfortable with the sedentary lifestyle.
And we fed him like very little too.
No, but he wasn't doing the pigness of the pig.
Well, and let me say this. This is a huge mistake. We bought Idaho pasture pigs.
Sure. And they're forested.
And Kelly, whenever we did this, Kelly was super duper sick with this baby. And then we got the cow. So all of these things happened. And I made the video that we were going to put them together.
Yes, Bill, yes. Bill, yay! Woohoo! Oh, they love each other. Sort of. I'm not sure if that's love.
So then after that video, our breeder emailed and said, hey, I think your gilt, the female, is too young to start breeding. She really shouldn't be bred by, I think, 10 months. I'll put the correct thing down here.
And specifically, he's saying they should not be together because she'll be at breeding age. So if you're new like us.
So they can breed before 10 months, but you really want to wait until 10 months. And really my thought, and I said, okay, good, thank you for letting me know. But honestly, my thought was, I have no mental or physical time. I am doing everything to keep my family afloat with a super, super sick bride, 4 kids, then we got the cow, like everything. I was tapped out. So I'm like, nope, it's so much easier just to put them together.
And a couple of things, like we knew the risk. We knew the risk of putting them together is that she could get pregnant. But we were also kind of like, well, she's really young.
And he was super fat. We didn't even know if he could breathe.
He's really fat because one of the things that we knew, not that we were trying to keep him extra plumpy, we just knew that he was extra plumpy, and that meant he probably was going to have a low fertility rate. Like, that's one of the risks of having overweight animals in general.
She's so fast. I was like, there's no way he can even catch her.
She's so fast. That combination, we knew the risks, but it was kind of a risk we were willing to take. Hey, we might get pregnant. The world won't end. And then as soon as we saw this sort of like sagging belly, this milk line, we're thinking, oh, it did happen.
No, hold on. Oh my gosh, she's gonna have babies. Oh no.
And the confusion of how long, you know, if you see that milk line, some people say 3 days. There's just so much that is a learning curve with hands-on milking the cow. You don't really know what you know until you get your hands on your cow. Birthing piglets, we didn't really know what we knew. We didn't know how much bigger she would get. We didn't know what that milk line would actually look like for this specific breed and for her size, because she's 2 months younger than what we really want her to be for breeding. And so that, I think, alone is the huge mistake, is just not being ready in the first place. Like, bringing her in, we should have been prepared for her. It's not because we don't have this space or the infrastructure even. We just didn't have it in place. And that was the real, I think, big mistake. And then letting them just stay together in the midst of what we had was not something I'd recommend.
Either we have low litter, like if she was older, maybe her litter count would have been bigger.
Stronger.
Because that's really it, or that they all would have survived. Whenever I saw that there was piglets, I was like, okay, I only see 2. I ran in to get Kelly. We came out, and we did find 2 that are alive, super healthy. They're like walking around a little bit too much, but walking around a little bit, so we're trying to keep them in there. But we did find 1 that was stillborn, and it was bigger than the other 2.
Not by much, though. I mean, not even like by just a few ounces, really looking and judging them.
Okay.
So the 2 that we have seem healthy. They are moving, they are nursing, they're keeping each other warm, actually, even right now, and it's the cutest thing. Like, we've done rabbits. Those are usually large litters, and they are very, very cute. These ones are also very cute, but in a totally different way. Like, they're so capable.
Rabbits look like
little
like
hippos.
Micro hippos.
They're adorable.
These look like baby piggies.
Yes, almost.
Like, these are piggies.
These are fun. They're little piggies. It's kind of like the cuteness of puppies. Like, they just have extra rolls, and they're like pigs in small packages. And I think that my real concern was this morning, just not knowing what we didn't know. And it wasn't for lack of trying to find out, because for the last 2 weeks, I've been reading about pigs every day, about farrowing, about like large production pigs, of really big pigs that have a lot of babies. Like, what are the concerns for that? And what I couldn't tell is, like, how quickly are these babies going to come? So when we walked out this morning, my concern was, what if there's baby piglets in there that are stuck? Or how many is she supposed to have? Is 2 too small of a litter? And then realizing it was 3. So is 3 too small of a litter? You know, what should we expect as far as like birth and then after birth? There were just so many questions that I'm like, man, we really kind of just had to reach out to people who did it and then say, what do we need to know now?
She birthed the afterbirth, and then I got some video of, this is kind of gross, sorry, warning, this is nasty to look at this, but she was eating the afterbirth, which is super healthy for her, all that stuff.
I think I'm just always in awe, like, animals, the land, it's just instinctual. Like, if you scrape up your property, it's gonna cover itself. Like, that's what nature does. And most moms, like Missy know what to do completely instinctually. Our midwife came 30 minutes after we were out here for an appointment, and she was like, how do you feel as, 35 weeks pregnant? How do you feel watching this pig? And I was like, honestly, you feel empowered. Like, if this pig can birth its babies out in the dirt in like squalor and everybody's healthy and safe, then I think I can birth my baby in a bougie shed studio. I think we could do that.
We can do it. But I'll also show you a little bit about their super janky house.
But it worked.
So we had it to where it was two separate things, like two separate houses, compartments, and I knew that that was going to be too small. I just did this yesterday, y'all. So I'm very, very glad that I did it. I moved this IBC tote over there. It's just acting as a wall. This is so ghetto. It is so ghetto, but it's cozy. But anyway, it's all made out of pallets. So the walls are pallets, and then the ceiling is pallets, and it's held up by a 4x4 right here in the middle that it's probably like maybe a foot into the ground. Bill has been so jealous, attention hungry, because he actually lives in this house, and so I blocked him out. He is mad.
This is the most down it's been. She's been walking around, eating so much, laying in the wallow. They were following her, like,
so active.
it's just not what I expected.
Hours old. We lost one piglet.
I think this is a big mistake, and thankfully it's turned out the best that it could. As far as pigs go, they're kind of set it and forget it. Like, they do a lot of the work themselves. They don't usually even need someone to come in and help them get a stuck piglet. Usually they can move and get it out, but that was my concern this morning, was just like, we might have a dead pig, and what do we do with that? And then how do we share that with you guys? How do we honestly describe the hard things that, I mean, this is a real concern. Like, when people are losing their animals on their property because of mistakes, it's hard to bring that to you because it's embarrassing, but it's also like really difficult to describe to someone who's not been through it. And then the first thing that you'll hear from your friends is like, oh, this happens, and this happened to us. And thankfully, I'm so thankful that our big mistake didn't end up in a lost, very expensive gilt turning sow. And we lost, in my opinion, 1 out of 3 is not a bad ratio for piglets. I would have liked to save them all.
I would say losing one piglet is okay, but there was only 3.
Right.
I think it would be better if she had 4 and we lost.
Sure.
I mean, of course.
Well,
but,
yeah.
But there is that sweetness of, hey, we have 2 little piglets that are healthy. Missy is eating a ton, like just eating her afterbirth, drinking water, wallowing, walking around.
Doing normal Missy things.
Yeah.
Which is why I was shocked. But I still hold my breath. I'm like, hey, let's see what 24 hours looks like.
Makes
let's
sense.
see what 48 hours looks like.
Good point.
But they're doing better than I kind of panicked to expect this morning when I was like, oh, I'm realizing now, dating back 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, she was much younger than we should have done.
I'm trying to end it on a higher note. We've already done
There's
that.
lots of high notes. I think that, but I think that's foolish if we're just like, oh, but look how good it is. Because we're not out of it. She hasn't bred a second time. Like, there are just still a lot of question marks. And
with that slight downer, we have 2 healthy piglets.
Yep.
What appears to be a healthy mama. And cue our better together exit music. Wow, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Well, I know you're gonna like this next video that I have for you, where I go over how to rotate pigs on pasture in the forest on a small scale homestead. All right, so just click right here.